Hey guys, Tarke here, and I'm going to be talking about the announcement of Private League, something we actually talked about quite a lot on Bay Class, so you can kind of see our thoughts there if you missed it, see how right/wrong we were. I'm not going to read this full thing to you, I'm just going to give you the very brief TLDR. As a new feature, players will be able to start private leagues, and the core intention here is that philosophically it's important to us that private leagues don't make the game easier. That's what special events like Flashback, Turmoil, and Mayhem are for. So this isn't like a super drop rate mode. This is purely a challenge mode. Now, there is a cost associated to this, which I'll go through here. So private leagues cost 120 points to create. By default, they last 10 days and have 10 player slots. The timing can be increased up to 2 months, and the player slots can be increased up to an infinite amount, it seems. And it has the pricing here. So you can buy an additional block of 10. So 10 players is 60 points. Pretty affordable. And 100 players is 600 points. So it's less than like a dollar per person. So it's pretty decent, to be honest. And I think that $12 to create a 10-day event for 10 people is pretty good. I think it's fair. I think the pricing is pretty solid. They could have easily priced this a lot more. So while this is another revenue stream, it's not a particularly money-hungry revenue stream. Now, the league mods themselves, they're basically just challenge things that I'll put in, that they're adding on. I'm not going to read through all of them. Now, the main thing which kind of annoyed me about this was you cannot pick any pass league. You can either just do permanent mode, like standard, hardcore, permanent, or what the current challenge league is. I was really hoping from a custom league, the idea to do a pass league. So, for example, Bestre. I miss Bestre, going back to play that. You know, someone who'd never played Perendus might want to go back and play Perendus. You can't do that. It's just if you start a custom league, it's just permanent softcore, permanent hardcore, whatever the current challenge league is, with a bunch of crazy modifiers on there. So let's kind of get into the pros, and let's kind of get into the cons of it all. So, pros. Harder Path of Exile for those who want it. There is quite a large split in the community between people who are like, we want the game to be hard, we want the game to be easy, we want the game to stay the same. This is a great way for GGG to offer a super difficult, super extreme version of Path of Exile for those who want it without having to change the entire game for it. So that works quite cleanly, works quite well in that sense. I guess you could say the one con of this is you could say this would potentially mean people are less likely to make a super difficult version on a base value because they'll try and save it for just this. Basically, what I mean is, if you're someone who kind of wants PoE to be harder, you could say, well, this means they're not going to make it harder because they only want you to pay for harder PoE. I'm not sure if I agree with that sentiment, but I could understand why someone may think that. This is technically group self-found. Group self-found is something we've been asking for a very long time. This isn't exactly how I would like it. The fact it is behind a paywall, but it is what people have been asking for, and it is relatively affordable. So that's, pretty fair enough. Now, this lasts up to 2 months. It cannot go past 2 months. This is both a good and a bad thing. The reason why this is a good thing, 2 months is nearly a full league. This means that people can basically take as long as they want to, within reason. The slightly awkward thing about this whole 2 month cycle, though, let's say you do this at the very start of the league, because from the very start of the league you want to do a difficult version of the league. You can only extend it by 2 months. So that means your custom league or your private league will end 2 months in, giving you a awkward month left at the back. And you're like, okay, well, why does that matter? You have this random month of filler. So let's say you started the normal challenge league with everyone else, and then a month in, you decide with your friends, or 2 months in, I want to do this, and then you purchase the full 2 months. Well, if you have time, like, if you were to start this, say, a month left of the league, this would hang over into the next challenge cycle. I don't think anyone's going to want to, like, skip the start of a new challenge league, so the timing is kind of awkward. It's good that it gives people the chance, but also, I don't know, I think a 1 month system would have been better. 2 months is just kind of a bit of an awkward time because, I mean, we get new leagues every 3, so having it be a 2 month cycle is just whatever. Anyway, it has a cool crowdfunding system. We don't know exactly how this will work, but basically the idea is if I have my 50 friends who all want to do in this thing, we all kind of put our names forward for it. And then once we have enough people, like all 50 of us, it will then take points from all of our accounts evenly to cover the cost. So that way it's not all on one person. So, you know, it's not suddenly, you know, you have 50 people and one guy has to front everything and hope people to pay him back on the back end. This way it's split nice and cleanly on the front if you want it. If one person wants to be the bro and pay for everything, he can. This is a nice clean system. It avoids arguing, it avoids scamming. I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool. We don't know exactly how it will be implemented, but, you know, how I would personally do it, have it so there could be like a form that you could make. So let's say I want to do a streamer league. I could make a form and I could just leave like a link in my description, and then anyone who wants to join it can click the link, sign that form on the link. It means I don't have to do any extra work. I just make the link, that's it. And then once it's all finished, GGG then just signs it off, and then everyone gets their points deducted. Could be potentially very clean, could also be very cumbersome based on how it's implemented. This is an alternative to spend points. Now, this may seem like a silly point, but some people buy all the supporter packs and don't like the MTX. There are some people who have thousands of points lying around. There are some people who just have 20 points lying around. If you have just 20 points lying around and nothing you want to spend it on, well, that's actually like a couple of league slots if you get the crowdfunding thing going on. So this could be a nice alternative to MTX, or a nice way to spend those pesky, you know, 10, 15, 20 points you have left over at the end of a supporter pack. More money for GGG. More money for GGG is a good thing. It makes sense from a business point of view, and hopefully it funds more development. It's good for them to get more money. At the very least, this will help expand the Black Lotus collection that's currently happening in New Zealand. So I'm all for it in that sense. Potential to improve loot box rewards. So this might seem a bit out of left field, and loot boxes are very much a question mark whether they're good or bad in the first place. However, there are a lot of dud rewards in loot boxes. You could maybe add some fun things in there, like you add in some tokens, like 50 character slots for a private league or a custom league, whatever you want to call it. And that way, it's just another alternative, maybe that instead of here's 100 variations of a bush. It's just an idea to think about. More revenue streams are interesting. I think it's kind of cool. We'll have trade API. I'm not sure how important this will really be. I'm not sure how much people are going to be setting up massive trade economies outside of maybe if there was a very large joint streamer league, like if 10 streamers banded together, did a custom like super difficult streamer league, invited all their viewers in, there's like a couple of hundred people, then you would want a healthy trade API. But the option is there, so it's something, but I'm not sure how much use that's really going to see. I see this mostly being a system for small groups of friends, 5, 10 people. That's where I think the system will really shine. Small challenge events, or just people who want to be special and have their own little snowflake league. Now, this can also be expanded upon. This is a experiment, right? I don't know why I said it like that, but this is a experiment. They're being very safe to start. This can be expanded upon into many different things. So in that sense, what you can do is, if you're like, oh, this seems cool, this is something I want to support, but maybe if they implemented it in this way or that way, give feedback now, and it gives them the chance to turn it into something you want it to be. If you're someone who's against this system, but there's something you would like from it potentially, I think it's better to be constructive and give thoughts rather than just read endlessly. So yeah, has potential. Nice for community racing events. People like Noogie, people like Havoc are getting quite excited over how this could be very nice for the community race event side of things. When it comes to holding massive events across small groups or large groups of streamers or whatever, it's always difficult organizing it. This is a very clean way to organize it. Everyone signs up, everyone crowdfunds, the servers go up at a set time, completely fair, no iffy stuff with timers. This is very nice for doing those fun kind of events, especially when it comes to doing like a crazy mode like no stashes, reduced player resistances, no magical rare item drops. Like, you can do some really cool things. And again, all of these mod difficulties can be expanded upon and added to in the future. There's even be plans of a durability system where items become negative and then get destroyed if they go too low. Like, that sounds pretty cool. You could have like it's almost like what they have in Fallout, having this super survival mode of Path of Exile. I think that is actually pretty interesting. Now let's kind of get into the cons of things. So, cons. This does have quite a large cost for large groups. Now, because of crowdfunding, it can be kept small on a individual level. However, if you end up in this scenario where, let's say, someone like Ziz, someone like Mathor, one of the really big streamers with massive followings of thousands of people, they were to suddenly front this cost, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. It's currently like 60 cents per person. If there was a super popular streamer league where all the viewers wanted to get in, like some streamers have like 5,000 plus viewers sometimes, like an Alkaiser league. He's the kind of person you'd want like a super challenge league with all of his viewers in there. You know, it could be a bit difficult if it's all being funded by one person. Also, if you have like 1,000 people or 500 people, and some of them can pay and some can't pay, how exactly does crowdfunding work? I think maybe having it so that there was like a massive discount. So there's like, this is something which is generally noisy about PoE in general. We have the same thing when it comes to buying points. They never really do discounts. I think this pricing is fair, but if you were buying 100 players was 500 points, just a very slight discount GGG. I mean, you're not going to break the bank. You're adding a whole new revenue system. This is an experimental revenue system. I think you could try and add a little bit of discounts. And even if it was like a silly add additional 500 players, just have like one massive like block. Just put a discount somewhere. There's a reason why you put discounts on bulk purchases. Just have one discount anyway. Now, another thing when it comes to players buying things, people are already very entitled when it comes to Path of Exile. Path of Exile's players say, I did not spend my money to support this. We saw this with Xbox. People already get like this sense of ownership with this game. Imagine if people start this private league and then they're not happy with the challenge event, right? So they've done, say they did this with Delve right now. They did their private Delve league, but I'm not happy with Delve and I've just spent money on my private league. I imagine people's sense of entitlement could potentially increase. This will depend on the person, but the kind of people who complain loudly on the internet and on Reddit, we have a tendency to be slightly entitled, so potentially more of that behavior. Another potential con is streamer quality of life. It's very clear that this is targeted towards streamers. They even say like one of the two kinds of people here could be, you know, content creators. You know, private leagues will be fun for content creators who want to create an entertaining stream or video. So it's definitely being targeted towards people like me who make content. The quality of life side of things could be a bit difficult. So you know how I said for the crowdfunding, if there was maybe like just a link I could make, then link it in a YouTube video, and then everything's like out of my hands and it's just ready when it's ready? Good. This could potentially become very tedious. Can you imagine if I had like 100 viewers and they were like, hey, I'm going to give you my account name, you write them all down, then you fill them in yourself on the website? That would be horribly tedious. So depending on how this is implemented, it could be quite bad. Another slight issue here with the whole quality of life thing. This means content creators will have to say no to their viewers more. This seems kind of odd, but like when it comes to buying more slots, being like, hey guys, I can't afford to buy more slots, you're going to have to pay for them, or no, we're not increasing the difficulty, or no, we're not increasing the league. Imagine if, you know, you're invested in this private league and you want to extend it for a month, but the guy who created it doesn't. How does that work when you have people like, half the people are having loads of fun in this private league and half them want to extend it and the other half don't? How will that function? Can anyone within the league change how it may work, or only the creator? I'd assume only the creator. So I could imagine there being quite a bit of bickering starting to occur in scenarios like this where, you know, if you have a group of 10 friends and they say later that you could add more challenges or more duration later, and 2 of them want it to be way harder, 5 of them don't. This might seem trivial, but people bicker. And when the power is in GGG's hand, then the friends aren't angry with each other, they're angry with GGG. This might be an issue. It seems like a non-point, but it's something to think about. Now, talking about potentially disrupting player loops. Player retention loops, this was Ryze's main concern, and Ryze actually said he doesn't think the system will happen on the last pay class, so guess you know very little, Ryze. His main concern was how this could potentially screw up the way that people play Path of Exile. Currently, you know, whenever a new league starts, everyone's like, oh, the new league starts in 3 weeks' time, everyone's changing their sleep schedule, everyone's trying to get time off work, it's going, oh, it's amazing. That could potentially disrupt the cycle. This might affect player retention in a good or a bad way. We really don't know, but there is the risk it could do bad things. On the flip side, however, this is also a very good thing. For example, people who had to skip a bunch of Delve because you have midterms, you could make like a Discord group or a Path of Exile group, like, hey guys, there's like 200 of us, we all skip the start because of midterms, but we want to have a fresh league starting all together at the same time. Hey, why don't we all just group up and make our own custom league? And you could all do that, make your own custom league, you all start from a fair point. I think that could be really cool when it comes to like exam season or, you know, particular crunch cycles, people who are going away on holidays for Christmas. You could get some really cool like communities building out of this potentially, and anything to build communities is a really good thing. So, you know, while this could be a negative, this could also be a massive quality of life improvement. Again, going into the 2-month thing, I feel like 2 months is a little too long, but this is a real difficult one. It's either too long, in which case it can potentially hurt new league starts, or it can hurt, you know, people playing too much Path of Exile. The reason why, you know, Flashback and Mayhem is very popular is it gives us something to do in the final bit of the league. But sometimes it's good to actually go, hang on, the league's like done now, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to chill out for a couple of weeks, I'm going to calm down, and then I'm going to come back in later. Having too much control in the hands of the players could lead to like a surge in player base for a few leagues, but then like a long-term decline. All of this stuff is very much based on analytics. Apparently this is something they already have on the Eastern version of the game, so they already have those analytics to look at. So, you know, I would assume GG's planned this stuff out, so if they've made the decision, it's probably a good thing. I also think it's very good that GGG is trying to experiment with new things, reaching out to the community, getting feedback. This is good. Like, a company which is open and talks to their fans, kind of gives them what they want, doesn't blindside them with random, you know, releases they may not be into. It's good that there is this, you know, this is an experiment, we're not sure, we're trying it out, give us feedback. This is kind of cool. Now, another potential con with this is, and this will be a player-by-player thing, so since people can choose to make something super difficult, I don't believe they say anywhere in here that if you made like a super, like, no vending, famine, no magical rare items league, you could potentially go back on it. I don't think you can, like, remove difficulty once you've added it. That could be something they change in the future, or I might just misread. But I could quite easily see buyer's remorse scenario. You know, you get 20 friends together, they make it super difficult to start, and actually it's too difficult, half of them want it to be easier, then you get this bickering and everything, and then it's you've spent money on something you then abandon. You know, how do you find the exact sweet spot, you know? How do you know what is the right amount of monster damage or the right amount of life or speed to invest into it? You know, you might think, oh yeah, I'm going to add like +5 projectiles and monster speed and it feels, you know, difficult but good while leveling. But actually, there's a new league mechanic that once you get in maps, you've actually made it impossible. Like, let's say the new league mechanic was there were dragons which threw balls of fire at you. And when you actually shove like +5 proj on them, you just cannot progress past them. People could potentially brick their entire challenge league from being too difficult. So the fact that you can't go backwards could lead to like massive remorse, especially if you end up with very large streamer leagues where you have hundreds of people in there and it's like, shit, we just completely killed our league. If people get incredibly frustrated through overly difficult leagues early on, that could lead to them burning out sooner, quitting PoE sooner, and not really exploring the league in its full. There is potentially more issue for burnout. People have a habit, I know a lot of people who've done this. You know when you buy a brand new game and you always get that one guy who thinks he's the biggest dick EU and he picks the hardest difficulty right away. He struggles and struggles and struggles for a couple of hours and he's like, actually, you know, fuck this, and then he uninstalls the game and never plays it again. That guy might sound like an idiot, but that guy is a lot of people. I could see a lot of people doing that with like, yeah, I'm a really good Path of Exile player. I'm playing on the hardest mode possible. I've just spent a bunch of money. And I don't like this. Fuck. That guy is an idiot, but I can definitely see that guy existing, and it will be something which happens to some people. And that's never been an issue before, because we've never had that kind of power before. I really think the biggest con is the fact that we can't go back into past leagues. That, I think, is the real future of it. Being like, hey, I could go back and make a Best Row private league. That would be like the memes, right? I meme about Best Row so much. Having the Tarke Cat Pokemon League, where we do really hard challenges and we go back and do like Super Best Row, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's what I really want from this system, and we can't get it. Now, they could expand this in the future, so we could get it, but right now, I'm not getting exactly what I want, boo-hoo. Now, another thing here is the Hardcore Trade League is already suffering a lot because of SSF. People complain that SSF is killing Hardcore Trade League. Having a option to make a harder Path of Exile would appeal mostly to the hardcore Path of Exile players. It will also appeal to softcore players, but will particularly appeal to a player base which is already feeling fragmented. So this could further fragment Hardcore Trade League. That could be a very big concern for people who play that. Generally just fragmenting the player base, just softcore trade, hardcore trade. You know, softcore trade towards the end of a league could be a real issue. Whenever you fragment your trade leagues, you can lead to issues there. There could be a lack of Helm enchants, could be a lack of unique items early/late into the league. Helm enchants are already a massive problem in hardcore. So when you have even less players in there, you know, will that rip of trade happen sooner and sooner? Now, you can migrate from these leagues. Because you can migrate from these leagues, that's why you can't do past leagues which aren't in the game anymore. Because if they had, for example, Best Row, and you could then migrate into Trade League, I could go in, farm a whole bunch of aspect of the spider items, then transfer into Trade League, flip off an item that you normally can't get. That would be crazy and it would break the economy. So I think the current system where you either do permanent hardcore or softcore, or the current challenge league, and you can migrate, cool. I would like a non-migratable void version to do like Perendus or Breach or anything like that. I think that would be really, really sick. Now, if you like just question mark things, could be a pro, could be whatever. I'm very curious to see how this affects Twitch viewership. This is something which I can guarantee GGG has not thought about, because this is a really obscure thing to talk about. They've thought, how will this affect our stats? How the hell will this affect Twitch? Like, this could boost Twitch viewership if it keeps people engaged in the league for longer, therefore more people are going to be interested. That could be great. This could actually potentially lead to some weird things where people are burning out quicker, people only want to watch the super difficult league, they then become bored of watching the easier leagues. This could suddenly like cause weird dramas between different communities. This is all like really question mark stuff, and we have no ideas how this will affect things. But interesting. When I mean by Twitch viewership, I don't necessarily mean like I'm more interested in how this will affect the middle to lower tiers. Like, will this do more to funnel everyone into one streamer or two streamers? So for example, you know, if you have the Rise, Carve, Uber, like Super SSF League, well, that's suddenly viewership, funnel a bunch of viewership from other streamers into that. It's just interesting to see how this could affect, like, the distribution. I feel like this could lead to, like, funneling. This could also potentially help the smaller communities become tighter, because then it's like, I mean, if you're in your favorite small streamer, 50 viewer streamers, like, league, you're extra invested in that streamer. This could lead to more, like, streamer invested. So it's really interesting how exactly this could play out. And then the final thing is seeing how this could affect the ladder race. The ladder race is already like split between SSF, so between hardcore, so between this, so between whatever. You know, you have it where like the main league is dead and people only race in SSF. Now people are only going to SSF race in SSF famine, no stash tab private thing. It is crazy. But yes, this is a very interesting system. Please let me know what your ideas are. If you think there's anything I've missed out here, please let me know, and I can pass any feedback on to anyone at GGG directly. But I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.